What's going on, Imperials? It's Emperor Cubone here. Welp, you had to see that coming. Legend ZA had people intrigued from the start. Maybe cautiously optimistic is a better term, but unquestionably the part that made people the most excited was the return of Mega Evolution. And of course, when you bring back a beloved feature like this, people will inevitably wonder if there will be any more. After all, once Mega Evolution was confirmed for the Hoenn remakes, we got a whole new bundle of them. But I was never convinced that we had to get new Megas in ZA just because it's there, and to make a whole new Megas video just for the sake of it. That'd be like saying that we had to get new Gigantamax forms in Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl just because they were in Gen 8. Which was a real belief that people had at the time. However, they have now confirmed that we at the very least get Mega Dragonite, who is a bit more cohesive with the rest of its line now. That means that most importantly, the Dragonite-ite is a real item now, but also, as the great Grandpa Max once said,
"And where there's one more, who knows, there could be 100 more.
However, I'm going to go by likelihood more than once. So as cool as it would be to finally get that Mega Flygon, I think they know that people are waiting for it, and so they'll keep it in reserve out of spite. I hope that I'm wrong, but here are the most likely Megas that we'll see in Legend ZA. And don't post any leaks or spoilers or anything, because nobody will like you if you do. Number 6. Other Pseudo-legendaries. A very important pattern in Mega Evolutions that I'm sure most people have picked up on is their tendency to work in pairs, at least for some of the bigger ones, Heracross and Pinsir for instance, but this worked for the Pseudo-Legends as well. X and Y gave us a Mega for Tyranitar, but also Garchomp at the same time, so that they had a buddy, I guess. And this was repeated for Oros when they gave Metagross and Salamence matching Megas. So I think it's pretty apparent that they like to double up on this extra special class of Pokémon. But the question then is, who's it gonna be? We've already got the first 4 generations completely covered, and I don't think Goodra or Baxcalibur will get it, because the latter is too new for it, and the former has its own regional form which no other Pseudo-Legend has. So that leaves 3 good contenders with Kommo-o, Dragapult, and Hydreigon, and of those 3, I would lean towards the triple-headed Dark type. This Pokémon was the first of its combination, and it was pretty strong to boot. That is until the Fairy type was invented to be 4 times super effective against it, not to mention the overall power creep leaving it behind, and poor Hydreigon hasn't really seen any special updates except for a Paradox form, which is cool, but it's not like it can evolve into Iron Jugulus, so I think if the Brutal Dragon gained a Mega, it would be great for it. And being paired with Dragonite works to show off their contrasting themes, because honestly, Hydreigon looks like it could beat them up in their sleep. But speaking of, today's video is sponsored by Manta Sleep. If you have trouble sleeping, these comfortable sleep masks could just be the thing that help you get a restful night. So be sure to pick your favorite, from simple and sleek to bigger ones with speakers built right in. Maybe the best part are the movable eye cups that have the mask raised up over your eye so that there's no actual contact with your most sensitive organs, and you don't have to accidentally scrape your retinas whenever you wake up. Plus, they can be moved and rearranged to match anybody's facial structure. But my favorite are the cooling eye cups that are made of some kind of a magical material that constantly feel cool to the touch, like they've got some ice-type Pokémon just sitting by your side all night, but it somehow works. So you can go to mantasleep.com now and use promo code CUBONE for 10% off of your order and get the jump on your super effective sleepwear today. Number 5. Krookodile. As mentioned in the first point of historical trends, we did see a pseudo-legendary tied to a Pokémon outside of their group when X and Y made Mega Tyranitar a version exclusive with Mega Aggron. While Aggron is undeniably awesome and shares many traits in common with Tyranitar, it is a bit odd to link the two of them together in this way. But what if that same kind of thing happens in ZA? I think it's honestly likely, and Mega Dragonite could have a partner in crime who I think is probably Krookodile. I mean, the trailers have already been showing it off quite prominently, likely as an ace of one of your rivals, maybe. Either way, Krookodile has a similar enough pseudo-vibe like Aggron. It's a 3-stage line, it's rather reptilian in nature, and even the stats are fairly comparable, so I could definitely see this smooth criminal unlocking the next power level. Krookodile could have some excellent design updates, and it has the wide move pool of a normal type to take advantage of, maybe even with a slick new ability like Protean. Besides, the original Kalos games only had a single ground-type Mega, and that wasn't even its main focus. So if Dragonite needs a slightly lower-class friend, I feel like this Desert Croc would be just about the perfect selection. Number 4. A mythical. Famously, the Kalos region that introduced Mega Evolution had pretty much no new Pokémon that could Mega Evolve. The lone exception was the post-launch edition of Diancie, the mythical gift Pokémon who did have a Mega to show off. Now maybe this was just because she was made of crystal that's kinda like a Mega Stone, but honestly now she looks more like a Terrastal spot, so it doesn't even make sense anymore to have Diancie be the only Mega from Gen 6. But instead of adding any of those Pokémon, I think they'll be subversive and just ignore Kalos again. However, they could tack on another mythical at the very end. Which one should that be? Given that they didn't go back to previous gens, it should probably be a newer one, so we've got some options, but I think the best ones would probably be Marshadow or Pecharunt. Marshadow because it's basically the same small powerhouse like Diancie, but it's the opposite, where the Fairy Jewel Pokémon easily reflects light, instead the Ghost Gloom Dweller Pokémon is made of shadow, so they would balance each other out. However, I think Pecharunt is likely just as the newest Pokémon in the Dex, and they just had a whole story about them as well, so it's still on the top of everyone's mind. Plus, that works better than retconning the final form of Terapagos into a Mega, but I would not be surprised at all if we saw some kind of foil for Diancie to go up against in this newest game. Number 3. Togekiss. While it would be pretty awesome to get a new Mega for one of the Charcadet evolutions, or Goldingo, it doesn't seem that many Pokémon past Gen 6 will make the cut into this particular game, so instead let's think about past Pokémon, and one that was jumping out to me was Togekiss. The Togepi family were in the original Kalos games, but they were locked behind the Friend Safari, which means that you can't really use one until you've already beaten the game. And sure, Togepi wasn't a new Pokémon or anything, but it was a member of the newly important fairy type. Even with so many new fairies around, part of the charm was to see how so many older Pokémon changed. And also, looking back, I was surprised that there were only 2 fairy type Megas in X and Y. Maybe they didn't want to overlap their cool new toys too much, but then again, a fairy type Mega was the champion's ace, so if the players had their own equivalent to that, but it was still unique, I think it would go a long way to show off both. This would also allow for the Togekiss family to have a bigger role in this region, instead of people forgetting that they're even available. So this benevolent, sentient plane that has been used by some pretty powerful trainers, I think deserves to finally have its day in the sun, and be given one of the coveted spots of a Mega Evolution. Number 2. The Starters. So given what happened with the starters in the last Legends game, naturally fans expected to see new forms for this selection in Lumio City. Especially after Chikorita learned a new fairy type, everyone went wild over that. And while that could still be possible for them to get new regional forms, now it seems a lot more likely that they'll have Megas. Even if the Kalos starters didn't get any Mega Evolutions, plenty of older ones did. So let's get some others in there like Emboar, Meganium, and Feraligatr. They could even get new typings attached if they haven't gotten variants for that already, since that's how they did it in the last Legends game. However, X and Y also randomly included Blaziken for a Mega as well, as promotion for the Hoenn 3DS games, almost certainly, but it also means that they can include more than a single set of starters per game. So as fun as it would be for the Gen 6 starters to finally get their due, they'll probably just get overlooked yet again. I mean, after all, the Sinnoh starters were in the Hisui region without any special fanfare, so if anything, I think they'll probably revert to their favorite trick and give a Mega to Greninja while intentionally ignoring the other 2. I hope that's not the case, but honestly, the one random starter that I think would be in most need would be Serperior. Since Emboar is here in this game, and Samurott was in the last Legends game, so now all of the Johto starters will have something, but then one of the Unova starters will be left out? No, I don't think that'll fly, so I'm fairly confident that we'll see multiple starters join their previous friends in Mega Evolution eventually. And hey, maybe they'll even canonize the Gigantamax forms as Megas too, but probably not. Number 1. Kleavor. I think it's possible, or even probable, for all branching paths to gain extra Megas, like your Frostlass or Slowking, where their counterparts had a Mega but they did not. Currently, the only line to pull off having both was the Ralts family, which shouldn't be too surprising, but I truly believe out of any other Pokemon, the most likely that we'll see play catch-up in this way will be Kleavor. Scyther has been a fan favorite forever, and Scizor was not only one of the main selling points for Megas in the first place, but significantly publicized afterwards. However, once Kleavor came along, it seemed to be just as prominent. Being a noble Pokemon was one thing, but it was the only new Hisui Pokemon to make the transfer to natively be available in Scarlet and Violet to catch in the wild. That tells me that they want to keep it around and celebrate all the aspects of the Scyther line, especially since it was created in the last Legends game, so they'll want to make connections between those iterations, which to me also means that they'll likely give it a Mega form of its own. Again, I know that they have split branches before, but since Kleavor is the newest member of an evergreen family of favorites and has already shown up when it didn't have to, I feel comfortable in predicting that to match Scyther's more modern endpoint, Kleavor could indeed gain a matching Mega Evolution in just a few months, or at least at some point in the future. I'm actually looking forward to a lot more from this game than just Mega Evolution, but that's always the hot topic whenever it comes around. And it's clearly held up as way better than any other generational battle gimmicks, because I guess the Mega-obsessed people are the new Gen 1ers, just for gimmicks instead? After all, just because it was first doesn't automatically make it the best. So, on that note, be sure to go to mantisleep.com and find your best method to snooze the night away. Which spoiler-free Megas are you potentially most excited to see? Let me know down in the comments. Also, be sure to leave a like, share this video, and subscribe so that you too can become an Imperial today. And until next time, stay grounded!